Hi everyone. Thank you again for tuning in to English Dharma services. Today we have come to the very last session of the story of Puna. Last week I talked about Puna's encounter with a hunter and a Brahmin in Stranaparantaka. I also talked about Puna leading his brothers in making incense offerings to the Buddha and his assembly, an incident upon which the Chinese praise of incense offering is based. And we also see how Puna was foremost in accepting a meal invitation. Then the Buddha announced that bhikshus who are capable of traveling by psychic power should attend the meal invitation in Suparaka. Meanwhile, the king of Suparaka had the city swept clean of gravel, pebbles, and stones, had the streets sprinkled with sandalwood water and lined with decorated pots of various kinds of fragrant incense. He had the city adorned with garlands, banners, and poles, and the roads strewn with many kinds of beautiful flowers. Suparaka had 18 gates. The king had 17 sons, and each of the princes was stationed at a different gate. And the king stationed himself at the main gate, along with Puna and his 3 other brothers. Just then, bhikshus carrying leaves, tree branches, and water pots began to arrive, flying in by means of their psychic powers. Seeing them, the king asked, "Venerable Puna, has the Buddha arrived?" Puna replied, "Great king, these are bhikshus, carrying leaves, tree branches, and water pots. The Buddha is not here yet." Then more venerable elders arrived, and again the king asked, "Venerable Puna, has the Buddha arrived?" Puna replied, "Great king, the Buddha has not yet arrived. These are the elder bhikshus." In the Chinese Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish, the Buddha gave instructions that those with psychic power should make their way to the city of Suparaka. The next morning, Puna and his brother Bhavila were waiting to receive the Buddha and his disciples. The first person that arrived was an anagami, or one who had attained the third fruit of liberation. Bhavila asked his brother, "Is that the Buddha?" "No," Puna replied. "He is the cook at Jetavana, and he is here to help prepare the meal." The next to arrive were 16 novices headed by Junda, and again Bhavila asked Puna, "Is that the Buddha?" "No," Puna replied. Junda is a fellow disciple of the Buddha, and he attained arhatship at the age of 7. The next person who arrived was an elderly monk, and seeing him, Bhavila asked, "Is that the Buddha?" "No," Puna replied, "that is Kundinya. He is one of the first 5 disciples of the Buddha." The next person was Mahakasyapa, whom Puna introduced to Bhavila as one who practices asceticism. The next person was Sariputra, whom Puna introduced to Bhavila as one with great wisdom. Following those, Puna introduced Bhavila to Mahamogalayana, foremost in psychic powers, Aniruddha, foremost in supernatural vision, Nanda, the cousin of the Buddha, Subhuti, foremost in understanding emptiness, Upali, foremost in upholding precepts, Stronakotivimsa, foremost in diligence, Rahula, the Buddha's son, and 500 other disciples who had all arrived using their psychic power. In the next part of the story, both the Punavadana and the Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish have very similar narrative. Then outside the vihara, the Buddha washed his feet, assumed an upright posture, established himself in mindfulness, and sat down on the seat that had been especially prepared for him. As soon as the Buddha set foot in the chamber, the earth shook in 6 different ways. The king asked, "Venerable Puna, what is going on?" Puna replied, "Great king, when the Buddha sets foot on the seat with full mindfulness, he causes the earth to shake in 6 different ways. Then, from his body, the Buddha radiated golden light by which all of India became illuminated. And once again, the king, his eyes wide with astonishment, asked, "Venerable Puna, what is going on?" Puna replied, "Great king, the Buddha is radiating golden light." Then the Buddha, with senses restrained, set out in the direction of Suparaka, accompanied by 500 arhats. Very soon, the Buddha reached the city of Suparaka, and he thought, "If I enter by one particular gate, those at the other gates will be deprived. Suppose then I enter the city simply by using psychic power." And so, exercising his psychic powers, it descended from the sky right into the middle of Suparaka. Thereupon, the king of Suparaka, Puna, and his 3 brothers, and the king's 17 sons, together with all their attendants, approached the Buddha, as did many hundreds of thousands of living beings. The Buddha, followed by those many hundreds of thousands of living beings, approached the pavilion. Having thus approached, in the presence of the community of bhikshus, the Buddha sat down on the seat that had been especially provided. A great mass of people, unable to see the Lord, began to force their way into the pavilion. The Buddha considered, if the pavilion is wrecked, the merit of the donors will be obstructed. I will now transform the pavilion into crystal. Then the pavilion was indeed magically transformed into crystal, and everyone was able to see the Buddha clearly. After that, having arranged the required seating and the fineness of food, the 3 brothers informed the Buddha by messenger that everything was ready, and the Buddha took his meal. In the Chinese Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish, after the Buddha has had his meal, he gave a discourse to the entire kingdom and the family of Puna. After listening to the Buddha's discourse, some members of Puna's family attained the fruits of a stream enterer, a once returner, a non-returner, and an arhat, and some members even entered the Mahayana path. Not only that, there were innumerable people in the kingdom who, having listened to the Buddha's discourse, attained the 4 fruits of liberation. Then the bhikshus asked the Buddha, "Lord, what deed did Puna perform as a result of which he was born into a wealthy family that possessed great riches and extensive properties? And what deed did he commit as a result of which he took rebirth in the womb of a slave girl, and then, going forth into the homeless life, attained arhatship as a result of the abandonment of all defilements?" The Buddha replied, "Bhikshus, Puna performed and accumulated many good deeds, the fruits of which were about to ripen. Those exist on a multitude of levels, and their effects are inevitable. Puna performed and accumulated these deeds. Who else could experience their effects? Bhikshus, those deeds performed and accumulated by Puna bear their fruit, not in the earth element, or in the water element, nor in the fire element, or the air element. Rather, deeds that are performed and accumulated bear their fruit in the skandhas, in the psychic characteristics, in the sense organs where they were performed, and this fruit may be wholesome or unwholesome. The outcome of our actions is never destroyed, even after 100 kalpas. And in due time and under the right circumstances, they inevitably bear fruit among living beings. Formerly bhikshus, in the Bhadra Kalpa, when people had a lifespan of 20,000 years, there arose in the world a perfectly enlightened one named Kasyapa, endowed with wisdom and virtuous conduct, a Tathagata unexcelled in his knowledge of the world, a guide for those needing restraint, a teacher of gods and men. Kasyapa Buddha was staying near the city of Varanasi. Puna went forth into homelessness under his tutelage. He rendered service to the Dharma and to the collection of the 3 baskets. Another disciple, assigned with the job of the groundskeeper, was sweeping the vihara. The sweepings were blown up and down by the wind. He thought, "Let me wait until the wind dies down." Meanwhile, Puna noticed that the vihara remained undeterred by the groundskeeper. Completely overcome with rage, he committed the deed of harsh speech, saying, "Whose slave girl's son is this groundskeeper?" The arhat heard him and thought, "That bhikshu is overcome with rage. Let me wait a while. I shall inform him later." When Puna's fit of rage had passed, the groundskeeper approached Puna and said, "Do you know who I am?" Puna replied, "I know that you, like myself, have gone forth into the homeless life under the tutelage of the perfectly enlightened one, Kasyapa." The arhat said, "That may be so, but since I went forth, I have practiced the spiritual life just as it should have been practiced and have been liberated from bondage. On the other hand, you have committed the deed of harsh speech. Therefore, confess the offense. In this way, the offense will be a small one and will be removed and completely exhausted." And Puna confessed the offense. Now Puna was to be reborn in hell and thereafter as the son of a slave girl. But because he had confessed, he was not reborn in hell. However, for 500 births, he took rebirth in the womb of a slave girl. Even in this very last birth before he was enlightened, he was born again from the womb of a slave girl. So here we see the importance of confession and repentance, because being regretful of what we did wrong can help lessen the implications that arise from the misdeeds we made. However, because of his service to the monastic community, Puna was born into a wealthy family, one possessed of great riches and extensive properties. And because he read and studied and worked for the welfare of many, he went forth into homelessness under my tutelage, and as a result of freeing himself from all defilements, attained arhatship. In Buddhism, we often talked about the importance of accumulating wisdom and merit. So when we undertake the study of Buddhist teachings, we are accumulating wisdom. And at the same time, when we offer our services to others, especially in the monastic community, we are accumulating merit. By accumulating both wisdom and merit, we can gather favorable conditions not only for a better future, but also for the eventual goal of enlightenment. The Buddha went on to say, "Therefore, bhikshus, it is said, the fruit of holy black deeds is holy black, the fruit of holy white deeds is holy white, and the fruit of mixed deeds is mixed. Therefore then, bhikshus, abandon holy black deeds as well as mixed deeds and direct your own earnest efforts towards holy white deeds. In this way, bhikshus, should you train yourself." Thus spoke the Buddha. Their hearts gladdened, the bhikshus rejoiced at the Buddha's words. And so we can see from the last part of this story that, firstly, deeds are never destroyed, even after 100 kalpas. And so in every moment of our lives, we should be aware of how we act, how we speak, and how we think. In the case of Puna, although he confessed after committing harsh words, he suffered the fruits thereof for a long time. Secondly, what you sow is what you reap. Positive and negative karmic actions have distinctive results. As the Buddha said, the fruit of holy black deeds is holy black, the fruit of holy white deeds is holy white, and the fruit of mixed deeds is mixed. In Buddha Dharma Pure and Simple, Venerable Master Xing Yun says that most people believe that being filial to their parents brings wealth, being caring for their children brings honor, praying to the Buddha brings longevity, and being generous brings promotion. But these are distorted understandings of cause and effect. Being filial to one's parents is ethical and moral conduct. It has nothing to do with becoming wealthy. Becoming wealthy has its own cause and effect. The cause of wealth is to work hard, to have initial capital, and to have the ability to run a business. So what it means is you don't get an apple by planting an orange seed, nor do you get an orange tree by planting an apple seed. Each cause produces a distinctive result. And the Buddha's message to the bhikshus in this section is that one should also abandon all forms of negative deeds and train to accumulate all forms of positive deeds. Thirdly, small actions can have serious consequences. Because of his harsh speech towards an arhat, Puna was reborn as a child of a slave girl for 500 lifetimes. The weight of his karma was caused by what he had done toward an arhat. So we should be extremely mindful of our actions, speech, and thoughts. Because anybody we meet in our lives could be an arhat in disguise. We might think of an arhat as somebody special, but in the case of Puna, the arhat he met was a groundskeeper. So an arhat could be any ordinary person that is around us. He could be a chef, he could be an accountant, he could be a staff at a train station. We never know. We can never be sure of the spiritual attainment of others. So it is better to be respectful to everyone we meet, especially those who thought are inferior to us or who are younger than us. Also in this story, we see a parallel between the Puna Vadana and the Chinese Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish, which means both stories could have originated from the same source, but adapted differently due to geographical and cultural circumstances. Reading parallel texts and getting different interpretations of the same story can help us to get a better overall picture. We also find the incident of making incense offering in this Avadana, which goes to show that the idea of making incense offering has originated from the Buddha's time and adapted into a practice we observe in Buddhist shrine today. We also see how people have valued the importance of this incident, that it has been remembered in the form of a praise that we chant so commonly in Buddhist liturgy. Due to time restraints, I have left out several sections of the Puna Vadana, and I urge you to read the full text if you have time. I am sure you will discover more in this precious text. If you are able to read Chinese, I suggest that you refer to the chapter of Funa Qi or Funa Qi Yuan Ping in the Sutra of the Wise and the Foolish, as published in the Guang Buddhist canon for a comparison. And if you ever come to the Shan Buddha Museum, please remember to look up Puna at the Bodhi Wisdom Concourse. He is a reminder of how we should practice as a humanistic Buddhist practitioner. We see how Puna, over many lifetimes, from the time of Kasyapa Buddha to the time of Sakyamuni Buddha, how he turned from one who is overcome with rage when he saw the unswept leaves on the ground of the vihara, to one who displays gentle forbearance even at the verge of losing his life. So when someone makes you angry, think about Puna. Think about how he was humiliated and how he gave rise to the perfection of patience, and how he touched the hearts of difficult people with his gentle forbearance at Stranaparantaka. Finally, I hope you enjoyed these 4 sessions. May you be inspired by the deeds of Puna, and may we all aspire to propagate and spread the Dharma like Puna did.
Galaxy and sun, bright moon lights our hearts. In the fields, cricket chirps, dreaming ancient days. Oh, great Buddha, please bless me to work for all humankind. Honor Purna, face the barbarians, sacrificing his life for the sake of the Dharma. Dharma friends, let us work for Buddhism. We are unafraid of the difficult, wishing not for self, but for merited religion. Doors to the cross, Dharma songs wake our dreams. The wind blows gently, suffering sentient beings. Oh, great Buddha, please bless me to work for truth and joyfulness. Honor Maulana, make thanks for the way. He was willing to die for the sake of the Dharma. Dharma friends, let us work for Buddhism. Despite the fire and ice, we devote our lives to teach, wishing not for self, but for glorious religion.
Thank you again for tuning in. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please remember to do so and hit the bell button so you'll be notified on the latest updates. For now, good night.